have
Anything else,
actually,
Ron, that's all?
That's it. Oh, I'm sorry. That's all I have.
we are reopening
A
comments.
quick question. You have a vote tonight, Jack.
Oh,
So we have four.
Yes.
Okay.
We have a continuation of the public hearing that was held on January 13, 2014 to amend section 435-43H, 4F of Village Code to regulate the use of sandwich board signs.
Yes, thank you very much. This has been a public hearing that's been open for a few weeks now. And have you been getting any written comment?
I have not gotten one written comment.
We have not gotten any written comment from any store owners or residents. Do we have anybody here, anybody on the board want to comment on this at all before we get started?
Just if we, I mean, when we do come, whatever the board decides, we are considering approving and allowing the sandwich boards. I think I suggested to Attorney Egan that we put some kind of snow clause in there. If there's an accumulation on the sidewalk, that there wouldn't be allowed to put a board out. Or even maybe as harsh as bailing them together from December 1st to April 1st, if it gets to that point.
I had spoken to Attorney Egan regarding liability. Can you address a little bit of that?
Well, it's a concern, it's on public property, so you're allowing advertising of private businesses on public property, which always could be, is problematic for anybody who gets hurt. Also, there were questions about First Amendment and those kind of things. We reviewed the case law very closely. This is commercial speech, which is the lowest protected and most highly regulated. This is not any other kind of free, this is not really a free speech issue, this is commercial speech. So it is subject to any reasonable regulations that we put on it.
Okay, so these businesses don't have the unalienable right
No,
to put
not
these
the same.
sandwich boards on village
The
property?
courts have been very clear, it's not the same.
Okay.
Right. Same reason why we have a very extensive sign code that gets submitted to the ARB.
Okay, and as everybody here on this board understands, the ARB has been working very hard to regulate signs in the village and to keep signs looking nice and keep the village looking nice. And
All aspects of signs.
Yeah, all
Window
aspects,
signs, permanent signs, blade signs, all signs.
So, a lot of this is just, a lot of these sandwich boards are out there and with no regulation whatsoever at this point. So that's why we're considering this as a public hearing. Anybody else on the board want to comment?
I got a comment, Jack. We spend tens of thousands of dollars of taxpayer money and bid money trying to make downtown look good. We've got planters, we've got garbage cans that are green.
We have benches.
We have benches. And we have countless hours from volunteers trying to make it look good. And we got 100 sandwich boards, no two of which look alike. Which, quite frankly, I think make it look pretty shabby, and then do a lot of the good that we're trying to do by making it look good. Now, in my own mind, I got to weigh that against businesses. Some businesses make more money because they have a sandwich. If somebody's gonna, on Thursday, they have 2-for-1 bagels or something like that, that might bring some people into the store. But that's public property. It's not, the store owner does not have a right to advertise on that space. We can give them a privilege of doing so by legislation. But right now, it's chaos and it looks pretty bad. There's lots of villages with downtowns that have no sandwich boards. They look pretty good, some of them.
Yep.
So,
Well, today on my way home, I came down South Ocean, and in front of one business is, the big mound of snow that the plows pushed over, and then balanced precariously on top of that was a sandwich board, and that's really not safe. I mean, that could have just fall out into the road. We've had a lot of wind lately, and I think the liability and the aesthetics are both a big issue.
Trustee Keith and I were uptown today, and we counted 9 sandwich boards in one area that was probably less than 100 feet. I would say maybe far less than 100 feet, 9 different sandwich boards.
And the sizes have gotten appreciably larger than what was in the past. And one business has balloons tied to his. I mean, when does it end?
by the way, I know some businesses don't like them. There are some businesses who consider them to be down market, right? And I'd love to hear from the residents. You know, this is your village. We're reaching out to the business community saying, tell us what you think. But I don't think we've done the same thing for residents. You know, they're pretty ugly.
Anybody from the public would like to speak? Josephine?
You know, business owners need to,
You still have to identify who you are, Josephine, even though
I think everybody knows me. Okay, Josephine Miller, 276 West Avenue. Business owners need visibility for whatever they're offering, and the village has concerns about aesthetics and safety. So maybe this is pie in the sky, but have other alternatives been considered? What about something like a kiosk in strategic places where, I mean, it's expensive and it'll be some trouble to go out daily and put what you need up there. It's certainly a lot classier than sandwich boards. And by the way, I don't have an objection to sandwich boards if they're strictly regulated. But I mean, maybe we should think about an alternative. Because they do have a need to present their products, and the village does have a right to be concerned. Thank you.
We used to have a kiosk.
We did have, yes, right.
They were getting vandalized.
They were.
Anyone else? Donald, I'm sorry.
Good evening. Don Waxman, 60 Common Street. I agree. Unsightly, the liability aspect. If you're going to say you can't have a sandwich board on the southeast corner and everybody else can, that's a problem. But you'll be leveling the playing field by saying you can't have them. So nobody will have an advantage of the sandwich board. And, go through all kinds of trouble with the names of the business on the buildings to try to make it nice. Yes, we would be going backwards if you allow it, or continue to allow it.
And that's from a resident, not a business owner.
Can they hang?
Yes. Excuse me, Joe?
Can they hang from the building?
Well, we have signs
Yes,
now.
some do,
I mean, if you
some
look,
do.
the Chamber of Commerce is a perfect example. You have Yogi Yum on the second floor. They have the bracket. It's at the Chamber, Wisteria Lane, and then
Queen City has one.
Queen City has one, and when the Dove Building, Budget Buy and Sell was redone, many of those businesses, and it looks nice as you walk down,
Yeah.
you know, that's perfectly acceptable.
No obstruction either.
But it's not public space.
Yes?
Good evening, Board. Dennis Ross, 32 Main Street. I disagree with Mr. Berg that I like the sandwich boards. I don't see them to be an issue safety-wise or whatever. I don't know about the legalities. I am in complete agreement with Ms. Devlin's assessment of the one on the corner that's oversized and the balloons on it, only because people can actually be obstructed from turning vehicles, and I have seen that from walking Main Street, that near misses. That one needs to be addressed for its location and size. But beyond that, the rest of them, you know, I enjoy it. I think it makes the quaintness of the village, in my opinion. I know it's in total disagreement with Mr. Herb, but I would like to see them, however you regulate them, I hate to see them removed. I think that they are part of the village.
Dennis?
Yes, ma'am.
Come back up.
I have the words and the picture at the same
It's your moment,
time,
Dennis.
so.
Resident, 15 minutes of fame, speaking in favor of city
Smile,
hall.
Shake your fist at us.
Okay.
You're a contrarian to the core.
David?
Hello, David Kennedy, Kennedy, representing the Greater Patchogue Chamber of Commerce. Address is 48 Cedar Avenue in Patchogue. I can say confidently that the Chamber's position is not to ban them, to work on trying to regulate them. Certainly the majority of I agree, there have been a couple of business people that don't necessarily like them, but it had the call to have them banned from business owners versus have them not banned from business owners. It's overwhelmingly supportive of keeping them. Those who don't like them as much, they kind of shrug their shoulders a little bit, saying, yeah, you know, I don't need it. I don't care if they're banned or not. There are a couple of business owners like that, but the majority, certainly on Main Street, do want them, particularly the restaurants, because of their daily specials and the changing variety there. What happens at their places from day to day, it becomes an advantage for them to get the word out about it. I think the Chamber is very supportive of the idea of regulating them. We're very happy, you know, that we were included on a committee, many of our business owners in the Chamber, to work that out and come up with some regulations. You know, the committee's really has only met once. You know, we've only had one chance to really talk about it, and there's been some good discussions. I don't think anybody's going to be upset about limiting it to a certain size and a certain look and a certain location. I think we would have people conform with that greatly, and I know they'd rather that than have them outright banned altogether. So I would hope that the village would take the comments as they come in, allow that committee to continue maybe to meet, at least propose some kind of specific legislation, and you know, and see if that would at least maybe solve the problem. Give that an opportunity to try that approach first before the village goes toward banning them. And that would be, you know, certainly the Chamber's position at this point.
Any other questions for the Chamber? Is anybody here a business owner who would like to speak?
I've already said everything I could say.
Jerry Morrell, 12 Allen Avenue, Patchogue. I own G signs in Patchogue. We manufacture sandwich signs, or not all of them that you're talking about, but I think they're done specifically in a tasteful way, or some kind of specifics outlining how they need to be made, size, type of style. It can be done tastefully, and I think it's something that helps. I also own the building as a landlord, 90 West Main Street, where the county legislator is upstairs, Clarko, and there's a wine store on the first floor. And in the summertime, when Pindar might do a wine tasting in their store, it helps let them, you know, advertise for, you know, when we have the live after fives or the different things showing, you know, people do a more foot traffic or walking, it helps give them an extra little bit of push, and it helps pay their rent, it helps pay, you know, for me to keep the building upkept and nice. I think it's a positive thing for the community, and I think it can be done, if it's done correctly, it can look really nice.
Any other comments?
How you doing? I'm John Sarno. I own the Village of Pub. Is it okay to read the letter I wrote to you? So I spoke at length to David from the Chamber and James from the tap room. I agree with the streets are flooded with all kinds of signs with all different shapes and sizes and looks. I agree that each business should be limited to one each. It should be placed in a spot where it does not impede pedestrian traffic. However, I feel an outright ban will affect local businesses from reaching their customers. Having a board outside is very informative and can be done tastefully and classy. I have said that chalkboard is not correct in the past, as many employees that I have terrible handwriting, and all the ones I've used in the past are poorly constructed and snap or fall apart from a stiff wind. The plastic ones I now use and several other businesses use are durable and will allow you to use a variation of signs promoting different event sales at your establishment. I understand some restrictions must be made, but I also feel complete ban is unjust and uncalled for. While the village has been making progress in recent years, we still lack retail, and a ban will just serve as another reason as to why retail will stay away from into the patio at a place they would wish to open. I believe we have more serious issues to worry about, such as parking and the lack of garbage cans along Main Street. If you drive down Main Street, outside there's a garbage dispenser outside the Dove building, and every single day it's overflowing. Same thing as the Chinese restaurant. So I think that's more of an eyesore than sandwich boards. we're gonna enforce the signs impeding foot traffic, and let's enforce the ban of bicycle riding on the sidewalk as well, because there's signs posted right in front of my business, and every day kids are driving up and down on skateboards, bikes, and everything else. So, I'm not trying to ruffle any feathers, but what I'm trying to say is, I'm sure a reasonable solution can be reached. There are far more serious issues to be dealt with first. I love the direction Patrick is heading, but I feel placing restrictions on our right ban, which will turn our village into a version of Ocean Beach's land now. So please take all fellow merchants' voice into consideration before any decision is made.
Now, what would you think of, because you are advertising on village property?
Right.
Okay, so what would the business owners think of if the village charged a fee to advertise on village property?
As long as it's reasonable, I don't see a problem. I mean, we're paying $25, a month for, dumpsters now. So, look, the village, everything that's going on is positive. We're all busy. I'm happy to say that I'm busy. So I don't mind paying if it's gonna help my business. If it's not promoting my business and I'm not benefiting from a sandwich board, then I don't need a board, I don't need a sign. But if I have a lunch special and I want to advertise, or a food special at night, and the boards that Jerome makes, like they come off, so you can change it day in and day out to cater to your business and what's going on.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if it's promoting my business and I'm making money off it, then I have no problem.
So you see all the sandwich boards specifically on your area,
Sure.
from the corner, from Budge Buy and Sell to,
He's on his way.
yeah, to maybe Main Street Cafe, there were 9 sandwich boards.
Absolutely. It's-
Now, you don't think that's an eyesore?
No, I think it's cluttered. I said, I have no problem putting restrictions on it, like one per business.
Well, no, each business had one.
Yeah, my brother has 2.
Yeah.
Ronnie Jules has 2 with the balloons. I think one is fair, and, it is what it is. You can go through the village and know who has sandwich boards and who has too many.
Now, how would you feel if every business in the village had a sandwich board on the sidewalk?
If we're all paying the same price, I have no problem with
You
it
don't think it's
whatsoever.
cluttered or it looks ugly?
It could be an eyesore, sure. I mean, but if there's restriction on how they should look within reason,
What would you think of if we put a restriction that it had to be a wooden frame chalkboard?
I wouldn't bother. I've had the chalkboards in the past, and unfortunately, they're not durable. And if you get to find someone with neat handwriting to get your point across that particular day. The other frames, when it does rain, the chalk's not washing off. It's something you can keep out there day in and day out. And if it does, get knocked over on a windy day, we either take it in, or I know it's not gonna snap into 4 different pieces.
Do you have one of the big bases, the heavy, non-typical bases, you fill with water or sand?
No.
This is what they have in the town.
Yeah, exactly, that's what Jamie has. The one I have is just a regular.
Do you know how big yours is, John, by any chance?
2 by 3.
2 by 3?
John, can I take your letter for a copy?
Absolutely.
Please? Since it was so well written, I want to make sure that I have everywhere. Right back to you. Thank you. You sure?
Positive, I have it on top.
Okay.
Any questions for John? Any thoughts? Good.
That's it, thank you very much.
Anyone else?
Hi, James Mantio, Niemeyer Sign Company. I've been in the sign business in Patchville since 1961. Lori knew me, I don't know, when I had
Katie was like,
different color hair.
Katie was in kindergarten, when we used to
Yeah.
make signs for me.
The reason the storekeepers buy these signs is because they need the business. They're not buying signs because they want to help out the sign guy. They need to advertise the product they're trying to sell at the time. And why they put the A-frame signs up is because they're perpendicular to the guy driving and the person walking. I'll give you an example. If the jewelry store on Main Street by the theater, I made a buying gold sign for her. Well, the signs on the window don't say she does that. The only advertising that she had was the A-frame sign. But she put it in a place close to the building where I feel they should be. Some have them by the street, some have them in the middle of, they're all haphazard now. Some are different types, they're bigger, they're smaller. If you confine it to a certain size and placement in a certain spot and have it professionally done, not with the chalkboard's a very bad idea. Very skinny writing, you gotta struggle to read if you can't drive a car and read something that thin, it's dangerous. Leave it with a sign man of some type to put a real professional 2x3, I think would be the right size. And kind of confine it to that, you'll help out the storekeeper, They're taxpayers too, but they pay their rent or they need the help. That's the reason they put these signs up, just for advertising. That's my case.
Anyone else? Still open for, Jim, do you want to say something?
Okay. Sorry, I couldn't find parking.
I know you called, by the way.
Thanks for calling me back.
Did you hear that?
Hello. Those of you who don't know me, my name is Jim Sarno from Budget Planning Cell, Del Plaza. I've been running my family business for over 30 years in Patchogue. I'm sorry, Mr. Forson, right now. Just ran here. What? I'm very fortunate to be one of the first buildings in Patchogue to take advantage of the facade program. This administration has done a great job improving Main Street, and I appreciate everything the village has done to help me. I understand the concerns the village has with A-frames. My A-frame was one of the first and few years ago. I agree that this has to be monitored better. I'm hoping the village will come up with a mutual plan that will not hurt the new and old businesses that rely on these signs, especially the restaurants and bars. I still believe and have faith in this village, but recently I have tried along with many others to talk about the important issues and terrible parking problem we have. I feel very proud hearing from people from the past.
Can I just interrupt you a second?
Sure.
This parking is not part of this public hearing.
Well, I just want to finish up by
Oh,
talking about
but you-
the A-frames.
Oh, it's going to be for the A-frames? Okay. I just, if you're going to go into a parking thing now.
Well, I just got a little bit more to read, and I just want to give you the big picture on things and tell you why.
We're not here to comment on parking. We're gonna give
You don't have to, but I like to say what I have to say.
Sure.
I called you twice and you hadn't returned my
You
phone
haven't
call, so I
left me
figured
a
I'd
message.
address it now.
You haven't left me any messages.
Okay. All right.
I don't know the.
Anyway, I'll get back to where I was.
Yeah.
I feel very proud hearing from the people the past years raving about the great things that are happening in Patchogue. But now the parking issue is always mentioned in these conversations. People are starting to stay away. I understand TriTech is making a big investment in our community, and I am excited about it. But let's not forget the small businesses and citizens, younger and older, who have put their sweat, blood, and tears and life savings into their businesses, me being one of them, over 30 years. Our first priority should be to fix the poor planning for parking. I believe this is not the time to punish people, to punish owners over a A-frame sign or other, issues that I don't get into now because I don't want to upset you.
I'm not upset.
Okay. Okay, I'm sorry, I'll punish owners over A-frame signs when there are customers who have no place to park. I have the faith in the village that this will all be resolved in time. But if this parking problem is not fixed very soon, a lot of small businesses will suffer. Let's all work together to resolve the real problem. If anything deserves media attention, like Channel 2 News, pointing out my sign, okay, that I've had there for years when nobody had signs in Patchogue Village. There was nobody coming to Patchogue Village. There should be media attention to parking, not A-frames. In closing, I don't want to, let's not hurt the great progress this village has made through the years. Let's work on the important issues now, like parking. As progress continues in Patchogue, there will be plenty of time to address A-frames, raising people's taxes, and other issues. Thank you.
I have a question for you, Jim. What would your feeling be if we charged a fee for a sign on village property? Since it is village property.
Look, I understand that the village wants to generate money and, build up the village, but as far as fees and things like that, we all have to be very, very careful. We're at the end part of a recession, and we're hoping that this country comes back, and this county, this village, and we're making progress. But if we start getting ahead of ourselves, like the meters And charging people and nickel and diming here and there is gonna stop progress, and that's what worries me.
The question is, and this is an important question that we all have to understand, is that these signs are on village property. The village is liable if somebody trips over it. If one of your customers walks out the door and trips over your sign, they're gonna sue you, they're gonna sue us.
I agree.
What kind of...
If it's a windy day.
If it's a windy day and it gets blown and knocks into somebody's car.
I agree.
These are issues that you guys have to understand, and whether you want to understand it or not, there were 9 sandwich boards between your corner and the Main Street Cafe. 9. And that's not the only spot. They're all over the place. And I think that this board has to look at these signs, and number one, are they a liability to people who are walking down the street? And the fact that the store owners are advertising on village property, which is an issue. Now, you're a businessman, you wouldn't want the guy next door putting his sign on your property. It's not your business model. So we have to look at that as a board, and I know this board has been dealing with this now for a good long time, and we have more time to deal with it. But I think the store owners in town have to come up with a better solution than having a mishmash of sandwich boards all over the village, because I don't know about anybody else, and I'm not going to speak for anybody else here. I mean, I am this close to saying, look, it's just easy enough to ban them and not allow them. So let me just finish. And I agree that if we can get a system and we can get them all together and everybody commits to it, then it could work. But right now, it's not working, and I don't know anybody on this board, or I don't know anybody that I speak to who say that the sandwich boards are working. So I think what we need to work through David Kennedy and the store owners to come up with a solution, because it's getting to the point where it's a little out of hand.
I respect that and understand that, and I figure, it has to be regulated somehow,
Yeah.
some way. I respect that, I understand it, but in my opinion, I mean, as I said, I just feel that the priority right now in this village is to address the things that help me support my family and everybody else in this village.
No, I understand.
I'll give you an example, and Jason hasn't even said anything to me, but this, I'm a concerned landlord for my tenants. And I'll be talking to Jason soon. He started the yoga shop last year, spent a lot of money, it's life-saving. Sat down with him and his wife when they first started, and they said, don't worry about it. Big thing, great things are happening in Patchogue Village. Hang in there, it's gonna be a rough road, I understand. And I gave him all the confidence in the world. He spent hundreds of thousands of dollars in that place. We're not talking about a tri-tech guy, we're talking about a small businessman that has the American dream. So what do I say now? He hasn't come to me when in my business, who I've been there for over 30 years. To be honest with you, I'm here fighting for everybody in this village. To be honest with you, tomorrow, and maybe I shouldn't say this, if you took the A-frames away, it's not going to be a detriment to my business.
There you go. There you go.
Just hear me out. Just hear me, then you can talk.
Okay,
Then
I'll
you
let
can
you
talk.
talk,
Okay?
but
But I'm not selfish. The Village Idiot, the Yoga Cafe, Tropical Polio across the street, and other businesses that are restaurants and bars who have weekly specials, daily specials, that rely on these boards.
How do we control it?
Well, everybody has to sit down. David's a great guy. I've sat down with him a few times talking about this stuff. Everyone has to get together as one big happy family in Patchogue Village. I'm not going anywhere, God willing. I've been here for over 30 years. I'm here to help. Okay, from the early days when my ugly blue building looked terrible, I sat down with everybody. Dennis Smith, greatest guy in the world, sat down and helped me with this plan to beautify the four corners of Patchogue. I was the first guy who made the move in Patchogue. One of the first. I don't want to pat myself on the back. I spent a ton of money, a lot of money that I'm not going to see for years, for the better of Patchogue. I am here today to fight for the people of Patchogue because I've been here. My father used to walk the police beat here in the late 70s and early 80s. I remember the days when people used to come and go to Patchogue Theater, and we actually kept our business open till 9 o'clock at night because it was actually worthwhile keeping open. Then I saw the deterioration through the years. From 9 o'clock, my dad and I sat down and said, it's time to close at 8:30, time to close at 8, then 7:30, 8, all the way down to, I close at 5 o'clock on Fridays. You know what? It is what it is, but I'm trying to talk on behalf of the other business owners who want their business to grow like mine has the past 30 years. And I think if everybody sits down and comes to an understanding, maybe a safe sign, something where, but as you said before, you said, well, there should be a fee. How do you like if somebody puts something on your property? Let me tell you, I pay a lot of money in taxes in Patchogue Village. My taxes have gone up a lot of money this past year because the so-called Suffolk County water, the use, that alone, my taxes went up $5,000. I didn't come here like a raving lunatic, which I should have, very upset about this whole thing.
Can we
So-
talk about that, and I explained to you why that happened.
Okay, and you were
I
very
gave you
nice
a
about it,
very
but
good
you know what?
explanation for that.
The bottom line is,
That's not-
taxes are going up, and as time goes on, and everybody starts making money, and, you know, all the progress that's being achieved, people don't mind, I don't mind paying the taxes. But when you look at a small-time guy, and I'll leave it at this, like the yoga place, like Jason, who maybe relies on a little special when people drive by. I mean, he doesn't even have a parking space out in front of his place, or any kind of parking for someone to stop for yoga. So that could be, you know, something you guys could consider, rather than saying, oh gee, I want to abolish all A-frames. Look at small people like that who don't have the money like Tritech, and, you know, their customers can't even get to their place to park. And that's why I'm here tonight, because I'm very upset over the parking, and we shouldn't be talking about A-frames, we should be talking about the real things.
Now, back to parking. How many times did you call me?
I called you twice
Did you
in the
leave a
past
message?
few weeks.
Did you leave a message?
I talked to people in the village, and they told me they would call me back.
Did you leave a message for me?
I left a message with one of the secretaries for you to call me back. I talked to Dennis Smith.
I didn't get that message.
Dennis, if you want to speak on my behalf?
Yeah, I spoke to
I
Dennis. He
spoke to
said you were
Dennis, and I
gonna
told
call
him,
me.
I told him I left a message, and he said, I talked to John, and he will call you. That's
You
what
told
Dennis
me
told
that
me.
you were gonna call, you said he was gonna call me,
I don't want to get Dennis
or
to
whatever.
I
I
think
did not
a
receive
copy
the
of
message.
Does it really matter what he said? I called
No,
him
I'm
3
just
times.
saying, next time you
So,
call,
so
leave a
let me
message.
ask you a question. Did Dennis tell you that I was concerned about the
Yes,
parking?
yes.
Okay,
He
so
said you were
so
gonna
you
call
was
me.
waiting to call me.
He
So
said
you
you
know
were
I'm
gonna
concerned
call
about the
me,
parking,
so
right? You
Next
could have called
time,
me, right?
I don't have your number, Jim.
You can't find me, man. Right in the four corners.
Next
That's
time
gotta
you
be
call me,
tough.
just leave a
That's gotta be
message.
tough.
Leave a message.
Can I take a
Thank
copy
you.
of
Can I ask a
that,
question?
Sure.
please?
This?
Yeah.
I can make a copy for you tomorrow.
This is on, I just want to ask a question. On the, again, we're trying to gather information on the public hearing as to everybody's opinions on the potential legislation for the A-frames. When we do it, it's going to enable everybody to do it. There are signs, as you make some good examples of some signs that count on it. The berry people, you know, yogurt people, those kind of people count on foot traffic. There was testimony at the last public hearing, there were certain businesses, real estate agencies, that wanted to sign out front as well. My question, and as a property owner, I'm a property owner, where we stop it, that we say you can get one and you can't? Should every law office have one? Should every insurance agency have one? Should they put one in front of Union Savings Bank? Should we put 2 out in front of my office?
I
Should-
agree.
But this, so, out in front of Melody Music? Should we put one in front of the bagel guy? Should the shoe repair guy have one? Should both shoe stores? Should Rose Jewelers? If we put it on every single spot, I'm just trying to make the point of, and again, I appreciate it very much as a landlord perspective. If the next landlord next to you wants to have his tenants have the same thing, and he has 3 tenants inside, I don't know how many of these every business have, let's just say 4, whatever. Those are 4 in a 1-block building, or 1 building that has 4 tenants of relatively modest-sized stores compared to your corner. So if they have 4 signs in a row, because they're in front of their building, well, my question to you is, if we do the legislation, how much is too much? And then where do we draw the line? And then doesn't it dilute everybody's signs anyway? If everybody gets one, and it is lined up along Main Street?
I understand that, and as I said, you know, that's definitely a concern. And I really feel that that's something that you really have to sit down, in my opinion, with the chamber, with David. And I think everybody is reasonable, where everyone has to sit down and find out what's fair for everybody. as far as priorities. I mean, that has to be a decision that maybe the chamber and all of you have to make and say, well, let's look at each business and look at, you know, what really matters. Maybe when you guys drive down Main Street, what really matters as far as an A-frame? Maybe it doesn't mean as much to them or maybe it doesn't mean anything to certain people.
What if
But-
we said just restaurants?
Yeah, you know what? It's not for me to tell, because it's not my, I would sit there and say, you know, I already told you, as far as my business is concerned, I do a lot of advertising, I have my sign on the building. I don't need A-frames, okay? Why do I put them there? Because, I don't want to get into it, you know, there's other people in the area that's moved in there that,
It's competition, it's
well,
advertising.
you know what, and everybody puts them all over the place,
It's
so.
advertising.
I see it allowed in the walkway where people walk across Main Street,
Mhm.
and I kept my sign away from that corner because I told people, someone's gonna trip over and somebody's gonna get hurt. I understand, I'm on your side as far as that's concerned, but I kept my A-frame, the one that I've had, probably the first one to put an A-frame out in Patchogue years ago. I had mine off to the side where that garbage can used to be, and they used to put it up against the garbage can, because they used to think, the liability, if somebody's walking by, I have it wedged up against the garbage can, it's heavy, I have it chained and everything, and it's not going anywhere. When people drive by during the gold rush, it was something great to see. When the parking meter machine came in and the garbage pail went by, I figured I don't want to get in the way of the machine, somebody might trip over it, so I saw the new guy across the street, puts his sign there, and I told people of my concerns. It's a big sign, and he was actually putting it in the walkway where people could trip over
He's
it.
been told
So,
to move it out.
okay, well, he doesn't.
We had a very careful, many years ago, we had a very careful ADA compliance audit where they walked around town, trustee Dean then was a trustee, and they walked around town and they assessed all of the crosswalks, they assessed the ramps. Those are very, very important areas that have to be kept clean for liability, both for the property owner, clear I should say,
I agree.
for the property owner, but also for the village.
Now, how many tenants do you have upstairs?
Offices upstairs?
Yeah, different offices.
Roughly, off the top of my head, my property manager takes care of all the, roughly
8,
17 to 20.
17 to 20.
Plus, you know, and again, I want to get back to the parking.
No, I don't want to get back.
Okay, because that's their complaint, they're not complaining about
It's
A-frame,
a different,
they're complaining about parking.
different. This is, we're talking about sandwich boards.
I'm just
okay?
telling you what they're talking about.
You've been heard loud and
Okay.
clear. All right? You got 17 to 20 tenants upstairs. What if, again, here's a what if each one of those tenants wanted to have a sandwich board to advertise their business?
Belmont, you're on the second floor, you can't.
Well, there
Who
already
used to make
are,
that decision?
there already are.
The yoga, right? Do they have a sandwich board?
No, the yoga shop doesn't, no, but there's an
Look,
accountant in
Jackson's.
Jim's building,
Yeah.
there's someone in Joel.
Well, he has an A-frame outside the door, which,
Karate.
in my opinion, from day one, when I bought the building, he had that there. I don't think he should have it. He's on the second floor.
But who makes that determination?
He's got a sign on his window,
That's.
but you know what, that's not my choice to make, that's something you have to decide. But if you feel that there's too many A-frames in Patchogue Village, then sit down with the chamber, sit down with everybody, the powers that be, and you know what? Make a law or rule that states.
Well, that's the purpose of this
Okay,
hearing.
great.
We started out
That's what we're doing.
meeting with the
Okay, I'm
committee
sorry, I
with
was
the
late.
chamber. And then we had the hearing, and this is the second hearing, and we're seeking a lot of comment from the business community and from the residents, so it's not as if we haven't done this.
I apologize, I wish I could've got here last time.
I'd like to ask Attorney Eaton, I mean, from a legislative standpoint, how do we, as a board, determine that certain businesses can happen and others can't? Is that problematic?
We could do that, because it's gonna become the second floor tenants, and some of those tenants are gonna complain about it. If we say only restaurants, well, then the realtors and the lawyers are gonna come in and complain about it, if they want it. And if we say, okay, only retail,
But is
then
that something that
restaurants.
can be challenged in a higher court,
I
legislation
would,
like that?
it's a possibility, but I would say it would probably be okay. Only again, because commercial speech, we draw much tighter lines on it, but I think the point is, the general point is trying to draw that line, and where do you draw it?
I really don't think many people in my building, upstairs in offices, are relying on retail traffic, people driving by. They know who they are, like the healthcare facility I have, the Vail classes. They don't need an A-frame outside saying, hey, come to our class. We have attorneys that, you know, they don't need an A-frame outside. If you need that much business from people driving by, in fact, they're not upstairs in my building to get retail traffic off the street. They're there to, you know, they get a good price, quality building, and they're up there for that reason. They're not there yes. But you know what, that's a different thing you have to address with them. That's something that, you know, if you feel that he should have his A-frame outside, then that's something you have to address with him and maybe make some up with second floor tenants. You could tell that accountant, listen, if you need that much business from the street, then go rent a storefront on Main Street and put in a permit to get an A-frame, or put a sign out there to get more people. These businesses, these bars, it's so competitive as it is already. There's a lot of bars and restaurants in Patchogue Village. There's the yoga place, there's Jamie with Bellavino, you know, there's a lot of places, and they have specials. They have different things. And you know what? I'm just here to speak on behalf of them, and I feel that it's fair for them. They should have these signs. Now, other retail places, I don't want to be selfish. I could care less if I have an A-frame. Would it be nice? Yeah, I think it helps my business. People drive by, they see it. If it's going to become a nuisance for everybody, and it's going to make life miserable for Patchogue Village, I'll do what's best for the village of Patchogue. But I'm not standing here, or else I'll be fighting for myself. Do I want my A-frame to stay? You could regulate it, you could say, we need this, that. I want mine to stay. Don't misunderstand me. But if there's got to be certain rules, and certain ones have to go, I feel that the businesses that warrant this, if they could come, it could be an individual basis where they could come and plead their case to you. And you know
This will
what?
have to be standard from a legislative
Well, it has to be,
standpoint.
it's up to you. You have to make that rule and look at the legalities of it and feel what's best for the village and for the people there. But, you know, like I said, with Jason, and, you know, my brother next door, Bellavino, Scotty, I mean, all these guys who own bars and restaurants, I feel that it's fair for them to have something out where people are driving by and they see what's going on. It's only going to draw more business to the village, too. People might be driving by to go to Bellport or going somewhere else, or someone's going down to the beach, and they say, oh, look, you know, they have a great lunch special. You know, they're going to park their car, they can find parking, and they're going to come by and go to play.
You know, we understand that. I mean, we looked at a lot of villages, and a lot of villages do have them banned completely. But we looked at it from the standpoint of we don't want to hurt the businesses, and we understand that it's important, but we have these other obligations of aesthetics and of safety. And when Jack talked about a fee, we looked at some communities that the fee goes to what they call a revocable bond that protects the village from liability. So it wouldn't be so the village could line their coffers with more fees, but that money would be directed in such a mechanism that would protect us should we get sued. So that's, you know,
I think
something
there's a
that
lot of
could be considered
liabilities,
as well.
a lot of liabilities in the Patchogue Village. When people circle around a parking lot 6 times to get parking, there's going to be a lot of fender benders in Patchogue Village also. So you guys might be up for liabilities.
And those people are insured, but
Yeah,
we're talking about advertising on public ground that we're responsible for,
I
that
understand.
right now we have no control over. Okay, so that's nothing to do, you can't compare that to someone getting into a car.
Well, just, you know, people's safety too, right? I mean, someone gets into a
Well,
car accident, and they may get rushed to the hospital for having an accident,
Let me
circling around
say-
6 times.
Thanks for your comments.
Okay.
I would just like to say on the record that Deputy Mayor Jack Krieger is working very hard on the parking situation. And there's a lot-
I'm sure he is, but in my
There's a lot
opinion, this should have
going
been addressed long before. There should have been a plan in place long before the Tri-Tech project.
What plan
Something-
have been?
Well, I gave,
Let's stick to the public hearing at hand, okay?
Okay, I'm sorry.
next time, if you ever want to sit down with me,
If you want to
Jack,
stick
and talk
around,
about
the
this,
public to be heard, you can stick around.
I've called you in the past, if you ever want to, I'll come down here anytime you like, we'll sit down and talk like gentlemen, and we'll talk about
Call
that.
me on my cell.
You want to give it to me?
Go ahead. Give me your cell number.
On the record?
No, whatever you put it, we'll put it on the record.
790.
It's gonna be posted on the internet by the end of the meeting.
Just before we stop, David, can I ask you to step up?
Sure.
As representative of the Chamber of Commerce, what do you think would be the reaction if we limited this to restaurants only?
I don't know. I mean, most of the people who are defending keeping them are the restaurants. That's where the loudest cry is. So certainly, it's hard for me to make that statement without knowing for sure. There's been a couple of, I know H&R Block was one that certainly chimed in, at least to me, that they would not want to see them banned, that they feel useful. So I could see that individual certainly feeling cut out if it was just restaurant only. But, the village may, I don't think anybody's arguing there's excellent points here. I guess what some of the business people, what I'm hearing as a representative of the chamber is that there's a little stress on Main Street because of the parking, and it's not about parking. And I think the timing of now picking on the sandwich boards is just made them feel a little picked on. And I'm not saying that was ever the intention, but there's a feeling just giving in the timing of when this is coming out. And I think some of them, there are certainly, and not to say you shouldn't look into this, because whether anything's happened before or not, doesn't mean you shouldn't take this legislation on, and it's an issue that needs to be dealt with. But on the priority of things, certainly, I've never seen any complaint about sandwich board signs. I've never heard of anybody ever coming to a village board meeting complaining about sandwich board signs. Until we had the meeting, and Lori actually showed me some pictures that really kind of showed you what the look was. And I walk Main Street all the time. It's not certainly something that stood out as me as like, this is horrible. But it can be cleaned up and it can be worked on. It doesn't mean that we shouldn't address the issue, but I think there is this concern for the business owners that, is it really that something that we should be struggling with right now?
The timing is because the proliferation has been great.
Yeah.
Because we have more success, more businesses on Main Street and less vacancies. But, when I am coming past the Congregational Church and I have to make a beeline around this new sign that the dress store has, and then the next shop, the bagel shop, and he's got one this big, and they've got them right in the middle, and then there's one here. Are you kidding me? So it's not about timing.
Sure.
The timing is because they are everywhere.
And you make excellent points. I mean, I'm even listening as you make more points. I hear what you're saying. It's a lot more difficult to try to regulate this than the ban. There's no doubt about it, because regulating it is going to open up a lot of questions.
You sat in our meeting,
Mhm.
and we went round and round, and certain people like the chalkboards,
Right.
and other people don't want the chalkboards, and...
But that was one meeting of a handful of people. That's why I'm saying, let's continue to meet on that a little bit. I think the village has made an excellent case, and I'll certainly pass that along of why you'd want to try to, that why the village, it's easy for the banner, because regulating them opens up a lot of questions. But I would like to just give that up, this process
Well,
that
I
we
think
started.
if we want to have
a little
another
bit
meeting
longer.
in March, and if some other people want to join in with the
Yeah.
original group, we can certainly do
And I would say,
that.
let's come up, I'd let the committee come up with the specific regulations, and then have that legislation proposed.
Well, we have...
And make that like a choice, what would
We
you
have a
prefer?
proposal already,
Okay.
but, that could be modified.
Yeah.
Hearing, we need to have a
Based on that. That's all. You guys are working well with us. You've included us on the meetings, you're taking in all the input. I don't think, everybody wants to work together on this issue. I just feel that there is a little fear if they're banned, that they just gotta feel like, given the climate right now of the new testing of parking meters and the parking situation, I think that adds to some of the angst that maybe wouldn't have been there if this was discussed maybe 6 months later or 6 months prior. So that's all. But again, appreciate it, look forward to that opportunity. I'm hoping that we'll continue discussion and at least give finding a legislative cure to this possibility.
Well, what might be a good idea if we can have some kind of meeting similar to this, where we're all here, any board members who want to come to listen, not a public hearing or anything, just where your group of people can come and voice their opinion like people did tonight.
Absolutely. I mean, certainly, I've been not shy.
But yeah, but more of a
work
discussion,
session.
but
Like a work
not a board meeting, but where, how many people here are store owners tonight? Right? There are way many more in the village who we could probably get some good input from.
I mean, I'll set up a special meeting for it with the chamber. We'll come up, we have a general meeting at the end of the month. I could use that as an opportunity that we could just clear that agenda for that meeting and make it just about that issue. Since it's a regular scheduled meeting, I'm more than willing to do that. It's a Tuesday night, it's the 4th Tuesday of the month.
The 25th?
The 25th.
Is that the restaurant committee meeting?
I think it might
Is
be.
that-
Well, Jamie's away, and I did see there was a conflict there, I was gonna try it.
We're gonna have.
But maybe that'll, I can have the restaurant meeting and everybody kind of come together, and you could still,
Because that was the meeting that I was gonna speak to them about the
Yes,
fundraiser, so.
yes, but we could still, I mean, that could
Well,
still be
maybe we
addressed.
could do it like separate from that and do it into March, I mean, we're not.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's every fourth Tuesday of the month is a general membership meeting, so maybe I could use that as the opportunity to give them, that one bite to.
I just want to stress, and, a couple people made comments, and Jim specifically made comments that, there are other bigger issues in the village that need to be handled, which we are handling those other issues, but every issue is an important issue. Aesthetics and safety and all that, it's just part of the big picture here that we're trying to deal with the success of the village. Now, all these people who have these successful restaurants in the village are, bringing in all these people who drive cars, who need to park. The situation here is based on the fact that the village is now successful, and now we got to deal with all this stuff. So Jim, he's adamantly that parking is the big problem. Well, it is a big problem, and we're dealing with that problem. But sandwich boards are a problem. Litter is a problem. Vandalism is a problem. There's many, many problems in this village that we have to deal with, and none of them takes priority over the others. We've got to deal with them all at the same time. And, David, you've been very, very cooperative and helpful in this whole thing, and I'm sure we'll continue to do that.
Yeah, and I appreciate you keeping the dialogue open, and we'll continue to discuss. Thank you.
Any other comments from the public? Donald?
Don Watson, 60 Common Street. I just had a thought. What about a trial balloon? A temporary moratorium, say a week, 2 weeks, or a month, ban them and see what effect it really has on the restaurants. I mean, maybe they think these things are wonderful, and maybe they're not worth that much. Let them experience it. Then they can come back and say, hey, I'm down 50% of business, which I doubt. I can't imagine that. Because how many people driving down Main Street are going to stop because they see a sandwich on sale? They're going to go around and park. If they're walking by, and maybe. So, just a thought.
Well, my thought is it's really a walking thing, because, when Main Street is full of cars, you can't see them.
That's right.
So, but,
I did a little research on the internet, so it's really anecdotal, but especially for restaurants and food establishments, removing sandwich boards decreases business. There's absolutely no question about it. How much it does, it's not really quantitative, but it definitely decreases business for those kinds of.
Mr. Bojack, you
John Bojack, 8 Madison Street. I just want to follow up on the question I asked at the first public hearing. I don't know if there's been any more thinking about it, which is this entire conversation's been focused on Main Street, but there are sandwich boards elsewhere in the village. So and the last time the mayor wasn't sure exactly whether this legislation was going to
This
address that.
legislation is specific to the downtown pedestrian-centric, sidewalk-centric.
That's what's in
But
there.
maybe some things that come out of this, like having them tied down or whatever, could inform other areas, so it's
Yeah.
something we have to look at. But does it
Well,
say D3?
No,
or
not necessarily.
D3?
It is the
But it was
The
our
intention is that it's supposed to be a focus on downtown because of the sidewalks. Sidewalks in other places are important too, but quite frankly, the concentration is on Main Street like nowhere else in the village.
All right, so I'm not going to mention the business, so there are four signs presently, right? And
You mentioned it the last year.
I mentioned it last.
Yes,
all right.
your cat's out of the bag, you already
It's
said
already on
that.
the record.
Right,
Yeah,
it's in the
right.
minutes we
And
approved.
I think sometimes, I think sometimes they put those signs right on the sidewalk. So that, under the present law, that would be legal, illegal?
Oh, it's like everywhere else, it's legal now, you can place them there, sure.
No,
That's what we're trying to regulate that issue too.
I always thought it was on their property, but I'll have to look next time I go by.
Two are on their property,
Yeah.
two are not, I believe, and I haven't seen them since I actually was again the last meeting, they seem to have decreased in their number.
The snow has that effect.
Yes, perhaps. But that was, and they're not the only one. I mean, there are other businesses also on River Avenue that have signs as well, and probably other parts of the village.
So it should be up for discussion within what we're considering as to whether that area is included or, something we have to discuss.
Right, because four signs they create people looking at divisions of a highly trafficked street. You've got people looking at signs to slow traffic down, you're blocking pedestrian traffic. These are issues relatable to what you're talking about. I don't want to pick on one business, but that's the one that just happened to drive by every time. So.
You know, Mr. Wojcik makes a good point. I mean, it's the aesthetics that the deputy mayor referenced before was the intention of the legislation. The ARB works very hard at crafting signs and working hard with the professional sign makers that are in town and do a very good job as well on crafting an image for these commercial businesses. To say that 4 signs on a sidewalk does not have an impact is not realistic. I mean, that has a visual aesthetic that circumvents the ARB's intention to try to give a certain look to these properties and to the buildings.
I mean, it's visual living.
Okay. Well, this came up,
But no, thank you for bringing it to our attention, because really, I think our focus was Main Street, South Ocean Avenue.
because you might have a situation that I think of, well, some businesses are gonna be privileged to have signs and others are gonna have no signs.
Well, if they have it on their own property, there's really not much that we,
Oh, okay.
you know.
Okay.
For instance, by me, the Milk Depot has one, or the storage area has one on their own property.
Or 7-Eleven,
Or
and they have it on their own
7-Eleven, you know.
property, on the grass there.
Okay, I got you. All right, thank you very much.
You don't have to do that on their own.
But we could ask them to tie it in, because it's not safe.
Already the ARB regulates the size of paper signs allowed in your own storefront.
Well, that's legislation.
That's what I'm talking about, so now you're regulating that, and now you're regulating an A-frame sign, so you kind of keep taking away from the business to generate sales, and I think it really creates a problem. I like that the different pubs and restaurants could say, hey, there's a jazz guy in there, my wife and I can go there, maybe have something to eat and listen to the jazz, and I think it creates an atmosphere, a really nice vibe in the village, and I think it helps the village, and I think you guys are losing the picture of that. It creates, you know, some kind of feel for this. And, you know, 10 years ago, we wouldn't even have this conversation because you didn't have anybody here. The stores were empty. Now we're privileged to have it, so let's keep them full and let's keep that vibe going. You know, I think that's what you need to do. We're already over-regulated with the paper signs in the windows and this, no neon and that and that. We continually keep going. Eventually, there's no advertising whatsoever for the businesses. I think you're going down the wrong street.
All right, so what should we do here?
Can we make a motion to, I would propose to leave the comment period, close the public hearing, and leave the comment period by written comment open through April 1st. And then we'll review the comments in April and make a decision in May. That would give us time to meet in March with the business owners, so that's my motion.
Second.
Second, all in favor? Opposed? Okay. So we're closed.
Public comments.
Comment.
If they want to submit any written comments, you want to do written comments.
Submit comments to the clerk's office.
Yes.
David will work together to put together some sort of meetings,
Absolutely.
talk about it.
Mhm.
And I would suggest that you get everybody out who's got skin in this game to,
Absolutely. No, I mean, I'm even gonna encourage all of them to get together, and we'll come up with something, at least a proposal from the chamber that says, consider this as the legislation and as a starting point. I know you guys have got something too. I haven't actually seen exactly what you guys have maybe ready to propose. If you want, I mean, if I get a copy of that, Lori, I'd love to pass that around and at least start getting inputs. I don't know if it's ready, ready for prime time, as they say.
It's fairly simple. It doesn't contain everything that we discussed. This was actually created prior to, it was the first draft that was created prior to our actual meeting that day. But if Patty has a copy.
Yeah, I mean, I would love, you kind of put the burden on us a little bit to come up with something that we can agree on.
look, if the chamber and the store owners can agree to say, look, all right, this is only, we're only gonna allow restaurants to do this. That's not a bad thing,
Mhm. That shows our willingness to, I understand.
all right? Because it seems to me that, according to Jim,
You want to come up
and
with?
according to other people, it's the restaurants and those kind of places like the Bagel Place and the VIP and other places, they're the ones who are gonna get hurt most by this. So maybe we just limit it to
But then you've
food
got
establishments.
Punch. When you've got Punch, they can't put one out.
That's right.
You've got Wisteria Lane. I mean, most of what we're dealing with right now, 90% of them are
Check.
restaurants, so it's really just
Yes, guys.
limited. David, did you want a copy of this?
Dennis,
Sure.
VIP.
Oh, wait,
Listen.
what I-
Some of you know, if we do that, first, I think we should have them. I think that there should be a uniformity to them as far as size and how they are stationed. I think they should be unique enough so that each business can display what they need to display on it. But we need to be able to control how big they are and where we put them. Now, if we make that specific just to restaurants, and we're taking people, two of them that I can think of off the top of my head, Carl Lehman's and the vacuum cleaner store, they've had those signs out there for like 4 years. So how do you tell them you can't have it now? And that whole row has these signs, right down to the video place. So I think it would be too selective, and I think we would be discriminating against the other businesses who probably do benefit to some degree.
I believe that to be the case, but, you know, there's gonna come a time when every business is gonna have a sandwich board. It's just a matter of time, or nearly every business.
Well, maybe we have to figure out a way to make that happen in a tasteful way. And that's when we come up, when we craft this legislation, maybe we should project it forward. What are we gonna look like in 10 years, and what do we wanna look like in 10 years? And assume everybody's gonna have some kind of a sandwich board. How do we want that to be displayed? Or do we want that to be something that's affixed to the building, that's perpendicular? I mean, now's the time to be thinking about those things.
Could you grandfather people in? People have had it, stop it now, and no?
I think that would be
Problematic.
very problematic.
Okay.
Can I ask Dennis a question?
Sure.
Dennis, do you think that professionals, accountants, attorneys, real estate, you think they need sandwich signs?
Personally, I don't think so. For the, I think Jimmy might have said it before, you need an office. But if you have a practice, your clientele knows who you are, whether it's word of mouth, whether it's advertising in a professional periodical. I don't think that if you're a lawyer and accountant, that sandwich board is gonna say, hey, I gotta go there because he's got a board out on the sidewalk. So, again, I don't wanna be discriminatory, but I think they would probably benefit the least from it, because they've got a constituency based on their profession. And I don't think that that's how they look to advertising. Thank you.